take a decision and work hard to make it the right one. Build that entrepreneurial spirit, ability to take risk, go outside of the box. Try new things. Don't be afraid to fail. If you want to be an entrepreneur or a business leader, you must have a lot of conviction. You're not going to be very successful if you limit your partnerships. Partnerships are key. I try not to judge people to the best extent possible. But truth be told, it is actually very impactful. It is disruptive. It is going to change a lot of industries. There is no recipe for success. But there are recipes for how to deal with failure. Life is essentially simple. Business is also like that. Business is essentially simple. Life support system for India's first manned mission to space. Business and work is one thing, but ultimately we're all part of a wonderful world. People who come in need to be culturally aligned. You define your own purpose, right? That purpose is what drives you every day. It's better to be together than to be alone. If that is not the case, family businesses fail.
Hi everyone, this is Disha Dioxide and you're watching CEO Secrets, what made them successful and how we can make it. Today I am here with Pavan Ranga, who is the Director of NR Groups and CEO of Rangsons. Today we will talk about his journey and his experiences. Were you a brilliant student, sir, or were you a backbencher? And when did your turning point towards your success happen?
Actually, I believe I was always brilliant, but I was a backbencher.
Oh, no.
So, I was one of those guys who I believe I was smart, but I never really was a front bencher.
Okay.
And I was never very studious. I didn't study a lot. But I focused on understanding concepts always from when I was very young, whether it is science, mathematics, or whatever else. I was triggered by understanding concepts.
Oh, wonderful. Would you say that's better than by hearting and all that stuff? Because it's easier to pass exams when you by heart.
That is unfortunately the issue with the Indian education system. The learning is largely repetitive. And so, the system allows you to learn repetitively without understanding concepts and score well. The problem with that is if you get a topper, usually a top ranking student, to be a top ranking student, you just need to be disciplined and hardworking. It doesn't show how smart you are. That's unfortunate, but yeah, that's how it is.
When did the turning point towards your success happen, sir? Since you said you were not very studious, when did you realize I need to do this?
So I think success and studious have nothing to do with each other. You don't have to be studious to be successful. You don't have to be a great student. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs in this world were never good in school.
That is true.
So for me, the thing was that I was very much into sports. And because I was so much into sports, studies was always a secondary thing for me. If I had to pick one moment that was like a turning point, it was the 6th semester in my engineering. I had a number of subjects as backlogs, along with the regular subjects I had to write. And it was time I got serious. So, I actually went back for 12th standard tuitions because I wanted to get serious and I realized that I need to brush up my fundamentals. So I actually went with 12th standard kids for tuitions along with them. But then I wrote my 6th semester exams, the backlogs and the regular ones, and I came out with flying colors. And 7th and 8th semester, actually, I got distinction.
Wow.
And then did my MBA with honors later. So I would say my 6th semester was like the turning point for me.
How was it studying with 12th grade students, sir?
Well,
Was it a unique experience?
it was not just unique, it was humiliating at times, but you got to do what you have to do, right? So I said, look, my priorities are straight now, and I'm going to focus on getting my academics right. So 6 sem engineering was it for me. Yeah.
Wonderful, sir. Since you weren't very studious, I think it will be easy to answer this. How can an average student become a CEO, sir?
Like I said, I think it's difficult for toppers to become CEOs in India. In fact, if you look at the statistics, most CEOs in India of companies were not great students. It's different in the US. Most CEOs in the US were, especially Indian CEOs in the US,
were good at studies.
So it's a very, because to be a successful businessman or an entrepreneur in India requires you to have a lot many more skills than just knowledge.
Subject knowledge.
You need to know how to work the system. You need to know how to build relationships.
Yes.
You need to be good at a lot of things. So I think every average student out there has an equal chance at becoming a successful businessman.
Wonderful, sir. What is the best advice that someone gave you, sir?
Several, but if I have to pick one which has been most impactful in my life, my father keeps telling me that there's no right or wrong decision in one's life. What's important is that you take a decision and work hard to make it the right one. So this has been a very profound and a powerful piece of advice that I have received. I follow it all my life. The worst thing you can do is not take a decision. And it's very Indian to not take a decision quickly and aggressively, because we have this innate need to make double, triply sure that it is the right decision. And that's a fallacy.
If you could go back in time, sir, and talk to your younger self, would you give the same advice or would you say something different?
I'm the kind of guy who generally doesn't regret anything in life. So while there were a lot of things I could have done in my life, or a lot of things I shouldn't have done in my life, I don't regret it. All those experiences make me who I am, right?
Yes, that is true.
So why would I go and change that? There's always something you can go back and change, but that's not the way I look at life.
That's a very wonderful answer, sir. What is the mistake you see students making today that will affect their careers in the future, sir?
Look, I think the jobs of the future are going to be very entrepreneurial. There will be a lot more empowerment, a lot more decision making at every level of the organization.
Okay.
And I think students of today are not building that ability to be entrepreneurial. We're very focused on marks. We're very focused on the herd mentality. There's a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. And I think this is the biggest challenge students face today, because a lot of the jobs of the past or today will be replaced by automation through artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced automation, robotics, and so on. So most of the jobs that humans or today's kids will have to fulfill tomorrow is going to be intellectual, it's going to be entrepreneurial. And that's, so I advise everybody, all the kids today, build that entrepreneurial spirit, ability to take risk, go outside of the box, try new things, don't be afraid to fail. These are more important than building subjective knowledge alone. So that would be my advice.
Wonderful, sir. Was your path to success easy, sir? Was it hard work, luck, or a balance of both?
I think it's always a balance of both. I came back to India after my master's in the US, worked for a bit, I came back around 2000. 2000 to 2010, 2015 were golden years, for Indian businesses, because India opened up its economy in 92, and it took 7-8 years for us to stabilize. And 98, 99, 2000 onwards, a lot of businesses saw significant opportunity to grow both exports and domestic. So I would say I was in the right time, right place. But obviously, that itself does not assure success. So I had to put in a lot of effort. I had to build a good team, empower them. All of that resulted in building a fantastic company.
Wonderful, sir. Did you ever feel like giving up? And if you did, what kept you going, sir?
There's a lot of stress when you're building companies, especially early on in the journey, right? A lot of times questions come to your mind: is this the right thing I'm doing? Is this the right direction I'm taking? And so on. But I don't think I ever thought of quitting the journey I was on, simply because I was very passionate about it. And I believe it's very important, if you want to be an entrepreneur or a business leader, you must have a lot of conviction. You must have a lot of conviction in the goal, in the path, in the journey, in the vision. It must be so much that your conviction and your confidence should evangelize and hit others who are coming on your journey. So if a leader is not convinced, does not have the conviction in that journey, the rest of the guys around will fall away. Because it's that holds everybody together as a magnet. So I never thought, I can never think of a time when I said, I'm done with this, I don't want this anymore. No.
Wonderful, sir. What was your biggest obstacle and how did you overcome it, sir?
Being in Mysore back in the day, attracting good management was always a challenge.
Okay.
So that was the biggest impediment to growth and success. And also, somewhere I believe that global benchmarks were not available. When you're building a company, you can build a company with Mysore in mind, Karnataka, India, or global. Today, you have a lot of global benchmarking. You have a lot of knowledge on the internet. You have access to people. You have webinars. You have all of that. Back in the day, we had none of that. So we had to go take a ticket, fly out of the country, benchmark what's the best practice in any area, in any vertical, in any industry.
You have to explore it yourself.
Correct. So building good management competence around you, identifying the right people to come on the journey was one, and global benchmarking was the other. These were the two biggest challenges and impediments. The way I overcame it, let me start with the global side. I actually formed a partnership with 6 other companies like mine. One from North America, one from South America, Brazil, one from Europe and Sweden, one from China, and me. So we formed something called the EMS Alliance, and I was a founding member of that, to exchange best practices. Also to consolidate some of the procurement for economies of scale. So this kind of solved my benchmarking challenge, global benchmarking challenge. So remember, if you're going on a journey, you're not going to be very successful if you limit your partnerships. Partnerships are key, and that's a very, very important thing. From a management standpoint, like I realized that you actually can attract very good people if you are showing that conviction in your journey. People want to be part of an exciting journey where the leader has undying conviction and passion on what he's trying to achieve. So along with that, of course, it helped to be part of NR Group, because NR Group employs close to 5,000 people.
Wow.
And about 2,500 of them are in Mysore. So there's a lot of credibility. We've been around for 80 years. People know that we take care of our employees. So it's like a large family, right?
Trust in the leader again.
Correct. So, so that culture and so on, that helped also in attracting good management. So that's how we kind of overcame that.
Wonderful, sir. What sacrifices did you make to reach this position, sir?
I think ultimately, we realize as we grow that you've got to spend a lot of time on building valuable companies, right? In the process, you end up missing, some quality time with family. And for me too, back in the early days, in the 2000s, early 2000s, my daughter Dia was born. I couldn't spend too much time with her growing up early because I was traveling all the time. I was outside the country. Even when I was here, I was spending 10, 11 hours in the factory. So, yeah, I think if I have to say something that I compromised, I would say it was family time in the early days. That changed.
What would you say about 3 skills that are unique to you that brought you to this position, sir?
You'll have to ask people around me. I don't know what, I don't know about 3, but I'll tell you what I have heard people say and what I believe too. The first thing is, I believe that I have put a lot of effort in developing an ability which is to bring in simplicity to a complex situation. Because what happens is life is essentially simple. We complicate it a lot. Business is also like that. Business is essentially simple, but we complicate it a lot. So, I've observed whenever we have a lot of challenges, a lot of complex issues, the ability to make it simple and simplify that whole thing is one strength I have. The second thing is I try not to judge people to the best extent possible. Because often, especially in business settings, but also in personal settings, we tend to become judgmental, and you without your knowledge, you're being prejudiced. And that kind of limits what kind of relationships you can build. And it also limits the amount of trust you can have in an ecosystem. And that trust is key to building teams, successful champion teams. So being non-judgmental is a very important thing for a leader. Yeah, those two. And then clarity of thought, clarity of vision. Where do we want to go? Where should we focus on at a given point in time? These are some of the strengths I believe I have.
Wonderful, sir. What problems are your company solving, sir?
Look, different companies have solved different problems. Fundamentally, under Rangsons, I have 3 verticals. One is in defense and aerospace, the other one is in healthcare, the third one is in education, test and assessment.
Okay.
So if we take defense and aerospace, right, the most relatable thing you can think of is, we are providing, for example, the life support system for India's first manned mission to space.
Wow.
So with ISRO, so if you come to my factory in Bangalore, the actual crew module is parked there.
Wow.
And we provide the entire life support thermal management systems to that. We also build the critical structural parts for the Boeing and Airbus aircrafts.
Oh, wow.
It's a high criticality structural components. In the healthcare space, we have 10 clinics, 6 in the US, 4 here in India. We focus on neuropsychiatric health.
Wow.
So we solve challenges like clinical depression, OCD, addiction, using a non-chemical, non-invasive treatment, which is now very popular in the US and Europe. called magnetic stimulation. It has no side effects. You don't have to take medication.
Wow.
It's a fantastic thing. I believe it's going to change mental health, mental health care permanently. So I believe we're impacting a lot. The education side, we have two companies. We manage the test and assessment examinations of about 120 universities.
Wow.
And state recruitment boards, both online and offline.
Okay.
It's obviously impacting a lot of students. We're creating new ways of testing, assessing, question paper articulation, and so on and so forth.
So if we need to blame someone for a hard paper, do we blame you, sir?
So in a way you do. In a way you do. So what happens is our guys create question papers to not just test students but to also confuse them. So a bit. So if you guys are smart, you don't have an issue.
Wonderful, sir. What are the real life products where your company's products are being used, or services even?
So aircrafts, healthcare, in hospital clinical systems. These are the companies I run in the group, but there are other companies in the group that do even more relatable products. For example, we are the world's largest manufacturer of agarbattis, and everybody knows Cycle Agarbatti. We are very proud to be part of that as well. We have a company called Nesso where we do ingredients that go into functional foods. For example, green coffee, green tea extracts for antioxidants, ashwagandha. So these extracts are used in several applications like functional foods, beverages, nutraceuticals, and so on.
Wonderful, sir. According to you, what do you think is the future trend of your industry? Like it can be in general or?
Look, what I can say is though we're in several industries, there are some new technologies and trends that impact across industries. Obviously, everybody knows about AI and ML. Right now, it's the buzzword. But truth be told, it is actually very impactful. It is disruptive. It is going to change a lot of industries. Advanced robotics, is going to change a lot of industries. Additive manufacturing, historically all manufacturing have been reductive, where you do machining or sheet metal or whatever else, casting, forging. But additive manufacturing is 3D printing, and that opens up a whole new way in which you can imagine products. So additive manufacturing, IoT, these are things that impact across industries, across verticals.
Can you share a few exciting developments or initiatives that your company is currently working on?
Already mentioned, we're part of this manned mission under ISRO. Yes. First time India will be sending humans to space. That's a fantastic one.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, also when you treat mental health patients and you see them get out of terrible indications like depression or addiction with no side effects, it's very fulfilling.
True.
So there is a lot of the areas where we are actually doing very exciting and impactful work.
Wonderful, sir. I'd say you're helping humanity even.
I mean, in our own small way, but from a humanity standpoint, NR Group is probably the biggest, contributor to the local society in Mysore and in Karnataka as well. We have a school for visually challenged girls. We've been running it for more than 35 years.
Oh, nice.
We have a training center for the specially abled. We have several initiatives, for different classes of society. So we do a lot of impactful work.
Thank you so much for that, sir.
No, you don't have to thank me. I don't do any work myself much, but
But you initiated it, and that's what matters.
It feels very good. At the end of the day, I want youngsters of today to know that, business and work is one thing, but ultimately we're all part of a wonderful world and a wonderful society, and we owe it to this world and society, because that's what makes us who we are. So we must contribute in our own way.
We must give back to them.
Always.
Wonderful, sir. What general skills do you look for in a potential employee, sir?
It depends on what what kind of role we're looking, them to play. But largely, what is important is people who come in need to be culturally aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think fundamental virtues are important.
Right.
Be honest, sincere, put in the hard work, be focused. Don't be afraid to experiment, question the status quo. These are the things that we look for across the board in any new, especially young person coming into industry.
Wonderful, sir. What or who was your biggest motivation, sir?
Obviously in the beginning it was my father, my uncles, when I got into business. Later on, I had a mentor, TVG Krishnamurthy. Very inspired by him. And in industry, there were several people, right? Been a big fan of Steve Jobs because of all the characteristics that he had, right? It's whether it's questioning the status quo, rethinking product inside out, and so on and so forth, design thinking and all that. So there have been several people who inspired me.
Wonderful, sir. What are your personal goals, sir?
Ultimately for me at this point in time, what I want to do is spend quality time with family, impact society, both with companies that I run and with the non-profit foundations that we have.
Right.
And see the world, experience more cultures, largely. So I travel a lot. These are my personal goals.
Wonderful, sir. How do you stay motivated every day, sir?
Look, what's important is that you have a purpose. You define your own purpose, right?
Yes.
And that purpose can be on work related, it can be personal, it can be societal, it can be whatever it is, whatever. That purpose is what drives you every day. And if people are not able to understand that they need to have a purpose, then it is difficult to motivate one's own self.
Right.
So have a purpose, work at it. You're not going to get to know what your purpose is tomorrow morning, but it's a journey. You have to have your mind and your heart put into it to define what is your own purpose.
Determination to find it.
Yep. And that's important, right? Ultimately, that's what drives you, that's what motivates you.
According to you, what is the future trend in jobs and how can we as students prepare for them, sir?
Like I told you, I think the jobs of the future are going to be very different from the jobs of today. Because a lot of the clerical, repetitive work is going to get automated through software and hardware both. So basically, keep yourself in touch with what technologies are disrupting industries. And you're not going to get that competence in college, in school, in your curriculum. So you need to pull yourself up and go and learn beyond that. And be in touch with the world, go beyond. It's like what you're doing now. If you don't come, sit and talk to people who are in industry,
you won't know anything.
You won't know, absolutely. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So this is what youngsters should do.
Thank you for spending time with me, sir, today.
Pleasure is all mine.
And could you give 3 tips to students who want to become successful like you, sir? I also aspire to become like you, so.
I can't think of, these are very generic things, right? Which most people anyway know. Like I said, be focused, experiment, take risks, embrace failure, consistently learn, knowledge is supreme. You will be able to use that knowledge better if you're willing to experiment and you're willing to fail and learn from that failure. These are my advices. It's very generic. There is no formula to this. You just have to believe in yourself. I think a lot of our discussions revolve around success, right?
Yes, sir.
Actually, it's not. There is no recipe for success, but there are recipes for how to deal with failure. So focus more on how to pull yourself up when you fall down.
And then the success will follow.
Because this, how do I become successful, is not even the right question. There is no formula. If there was a formula, you'd have a school for success.
True.
So there is no formula, right?
That is true.
And so, but there are formulas for how to deal with failure. Because if you want to be successful once, you have to fail many times.
That is true.
And the problem with people who are not as successful is that they don't try because they don't want to deal with failure. So learn how to deal with failure. That is, I think,
and
the
then
key
the
to
success will just follow.
It should. I mean, if you keep failing and learning, at some point you must get to some level of success.
Right. According to you, how important do you think networking is, and how can students build their network, sir, at this point in time?
I personally think networking is overrated. I don't think it's, networking never got anybody anywhere. To be honest, what is important is building relationships, partnerships, sharing of intellect and knowledge. Networking in the conventional sense of collecting visiting cards, meeting them in a conference. What happens is this doesn't give you a sustained path towards an end goal.
Right.
So I think this networking comes from a marketing sales standpoint.
Right.
So when you are in the sales function, then you need to get as many network points because you're throwing a net and you want to get whatever you can out of that, right? So networking is a tool,
right,
which is more relevant in certain areas, certain functions. I personally believe that it's overrated.
Quite a controversial opinion, I might say.
It's my thought, right? And that's why I said there's no universal truth to anything, right?
True, sir.
I believe networking is overrated. Somebody else may say I became successful because I could network well. That's okay. I'm giving my perspective, right?
That's what we need right now, sir.
That's all you're going to get from me.
While running a family business, you obviously run a family business, you face quite unique and difficult situations sometimes. So what key lessons have you learned as working as a CEO of a family run business, sir?
Basically, the family business has many more dynamics than an individual owner run managed business. Because there are human issues, we are one family, there is some sense of equality, multiple leaders, and all of those things. So you just have to, there are ways in which you simplify family business management.
Right.
You do family constitutions, you get the right advisors, but fundamentally, successful family businesses have one thing in common. Every member of the family believes it's better to be together than to be alone. If that is not the case, family businesses fail. And fortunately for me, in my generation and my previous generation, we all truly believe that being together is, for us, better than being alone.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Exactly. Something like that.
So now we'll move on to the rapid fire questions. Short and sweet answers, sir.
Shoot.
Wonderful. What is your favorite food, sir?
Biryani.
Oh. If you could trade places with anyone for a day, who would it be and why, sir?
I think for now it would be Carlos Alcaraz
Oh.
because I could lift the Wimbledon trophy.
Wow. Quite a dream. If you could be a superhero, who would you be, sir?
I guess Superman, right? Because there's no kryptonite around, so you're all powerful. You can do whatever you want. So yeah.
Wonderful. If you could have dinner with a celebrity, who would it be and what do you like about the celebrity?
I'd like to have dinner with Leonardo DiCaprio
Oh.
because I'm just amazed at the kind of roles he plays. I think he's a true genius in his art form, and I'd like to understand how he's able to understand and portray such powerful characters.
Wonderful, sir. If you could recommend a book, what book would you recommend, sir? One book.
I would say, one book is tough. Monk who had the Ferrari, you know that?
That book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Sold his Ferrari.
Yes.
That's a good one. I think for youngsters, that's a book I recommend, because it really levels you.
Wonderful. And what kind of music do you listen to, sir?
I listen to all kind of genres, from classic rock, old Hindi, new age, electronic music, hip hop, all of it. I'm a music buff.
Wonderful, sir.
Yeah.
That's nice. What is your favorite movie, sir? Would it be a Leonardo DiCaprio one?
Yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of his movies are outstanding, but tough to pick one favorite movie.
Name a couple, sir, if you can.
Yeah, maybe. Back in the day, growing up, I used to like this Amir Khan movie called Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar.
Okay.
It was about a bunch of college students. I loved that movie. In Hollywood, I can't think of one movie, but if I have to pick one, I would say Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Tom Hanks. I think it just brings out the essence of life beautifully.
Wonderful, sir. And this is quite an interesting question. If you won a lottery of 1 crore and you had to spend it in one day, what would you do with it, sir?
I think I'd go buy more lottery tickets.
Wonderful answer, sir. Amazing. We have reached the end of today's interview. Thank you for watching. Thank you, sir, for giving me the time of the day and sharing your quite short but insightful answers. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you and good luck to all of you.
Thank you for watching.